Welcome back to the 5th episode of what even is this again? Oh yeah, Creepypasta critiques. I just got done uploading another video. You guys have probably seen it already. But yeah, this is the first story that I haven't pre-read on the channel before, and this is a dog named Grim. This seems pretty interesting, and I hope that it's actually like the first good story we've had on Creepypasta critiques. So, I guess let's start reading it. My parents had a very I'm reading it wrong. My parents had very demanding jobs. My mother and father ran a law firm, and we had to travel a lot. I had to get used to being pretty much alone. I could never get used to having friends. I knew I would only end up moving anyway. I was also an only child, therefore life was pretty much a sad thing for me. However, I will never forget a strange encounter I had when my parents and I moved to a trailer on the countryside of Mississippi. This is giving me Mr. Widemouth vibes. Because like parents are always moving around, he's an only child. Yeah, it's giving me Mr. Widemouth vibes. Oh, what's next? I already lost my train of thought here. It was pretty much desolate other than a few other houses and trailers. The trailer was the best my parents could find. We moved in the trailer next to an old man. He looked as though he was in his late 80s. He also seemed to live alone. I never saw anyone but him outside. I don't think he had a wife, kids, or even grandkids. However, he did have a dog. It was a quite strange dog, though. He appeared to be a black German Shepherd. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. He had one of the most unique, beautiful black coat of fur I had ever seen on any animal. His fur could be compared to that of the night sky. It was also quite large. He definitely had some Great Dane in his bloodline. When you see this dog's black coat and large size, he looks absolutely intimidating. It was simply astounding. I'd honestly never seen a dog quite like this. This is a really good story so far. I love the way that they're building atmosphere in the picture right there. That builds atmosphere on its own. So this is pretty good so far. I went over to introduce myself to the neighbor. Though he looked grumpy, the man was very nice. He introduced himself as Mr. Frank Gossold? I don't know. But he told me I could call him Frank. I then asked what was the name of his dog. His name was Grim. Grim simply glanced at me, but paid me no attention. As time passed, Frank and I had become friends. He said it was nice to finally have some company. I would regularly help Frank with his chores around the house. Afterwards, he would give a little pay for my help. With my father always working, Frank pretty much became my father figure. It made me feel special. Something was quite strange. Every time I visited Frank, Grim would be gone most of the time. Frank explained that Grim loved to explore the woods, but my gut told me that wasn't the case. Occasionally, I would come across Grim. His behavior was quite weird. Sometimes he would just sit completely still, staring out into the woods. He looked utterly focused. Yeah, this is really good. This is very well written. I feel like we have the best story of all the Creepypasta critiques stories that we've read. Like, the Luigi's Mansion one, that was funny, and that's why I liked reading it, and that's why I gave it such a high score. But I feel like this might beat it out. Also, something to note that I noticed is that this story gives me a lot of Goosebumps type vibe here. I don't know. It just kind of seems like that. I what was this? Yeah, I would try to play with Grim, but he was never playful. Whenever I tried to get him to play, he would just look at me with a blank stare and continue to stare out into the woods. His tail wouldn't even wag in the slightest. He just didn't seem like a happy dog. That was until what did I say until about a month into staying in the trailer. Apparently a man died late in the night. Police said he was drunk and drove his car into a tree. That day I saw Grim's tail wag. He actually looked happy. I ran over to see if he would happily greet me. After he noticed me, his tail stopped wagging, and he gave me a low growl. It was like I was disturbing his happiness. After that, I was determined to find out what was Grim's deal. The weirdest thing about Grim was his behavior. Every time someone in the neighborhood died, he would either be gone or be happy. What was this dog's problem? It was like he knew when people died. This began to bother me. It actually began to disturb me. I began to have nightmares about Grim. I had dreams of him at the drunk man's accident. There was an old lady who lived about 3 miles away from us. She suffered from a heart attack in sleep. I had a nightmare that Grim had something to do with it. One of my final nightmares was Grim popping out of nowhere, biting my throat out. This is pretty well written. I don't know why. It's just it kind of seems like it's going on a decline though. I don't know. This is definitely a good story, but it just feels like it's like Godzilla NES where it's slowly starting to like go down. I don't know. Time passed, and my parents and I were getting ready to move again. I told myself I would never try to make friends, but I'd made such good friends with Frank. I just couldn't leave without saying goodbye. Before I continue, I want to say that I was one of the only survivors. Remember that. You'll know what I mean at the end. Anyway, I said my goodbyes to Frank. He was sad that I was leaving. I was pretty torn up about it as well. However, I couldn't leave without knowing Grim's issue. I asked Frank where he got Grim. So, I don't know. I don't like the idea of them kind of like foreshadowing, like, yeah, it'll all be explained at the end. Like, can you not do that, please? This is a good story, but I just feel like if they didn't include that foreshadowing part, maybe it would be better. I don't know what the twist is going to be. Hopefully it's going to be a good twist, though. His face went pale for a moment. After a brief moment of hesitation, he answered, I didn't find him. He found me. My wife died a few years ago. After that, he just showed up. I found that quite weird. Grim just appeared after Frank's wife died. He then asked him, does he know about Grim's weird behavior? His answer will forever live in my mind. I once thought Grim was a normal dog. I thought he was just some stray that found his way to my door. And then I realized that wasn't quite the case. You see, my boy, Grim isn't a normal dog. As a matter of fact, he isn't a dog at all. Alright, so I think I've guessed the twist by now. I'm pretty sure this dog, Grim, is the Grim Reaper because he shows up when people die. Maybe he's like going to like collect their souls. That's at least what I think the twist is. I could not think of anything to say. I was completely baffled. I managed to ask one final question. Then what is he? Frank looked at me with a face of caution. I think he's death. I used to be curious where Grim run off to, just like you. Is that what it said, just like you? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, just like you. I once followed him and discovered he was arriving at the scenes of upcoming death. He would never be happy until someone died. or was about to die. I even believe he can't be at several places. Oh, he can be at several places at once. It's best you leave now. We don't want to upset him, please. Alright, this is... it feels like this was kind of like in a downward slope. It's still well written, but I feel like he kind of saved the best parts for the beginning. With that being said, I left Frank's house and never saw him again. My parents had finished packing up. We were on our way to the airport. I will never forget what I saw. As I drove away, I looked out the back car. I looked out the back car? What? Grammar issue. Oh. I looked out the back car window. That's where oh my god, my cat's being super annoying. That's where you gotta, like, watch out there, because, like, you might, like, read something wrong and you're like, oh man, that's a grammar error. But no, it wasn't. That was just me being dumb. Anyway, I'm gonna read back there. At the I already lost my place. At the airport, we began to board our plane. Remember? Oh no. Oh yeah, I wasn't there. I will never forget what I saw as I drove away. I looked out the back car window and I saw Grim. He was staring directly at me, but this time he was wagging his tail, and he was happy to see me leave. At the airport, I began to board our plane. Remember when I said I was one of the only survivors? As I boarded the plane, I could have sworn I spotted Grim at the airport for a second. But when I took a second look, there was nothing there. I'm sure you can imagine what happened to that plane. I lost both my parents in that crash. I finally realized what Grim was. This may seem far-fetched, but maybe Grim is death. That's why Grim is named Grim. He is the Grim Reaper. I have never been a spiritual person. I do believe in death, though. Eventually, it's coming for all of us. However, I can confidently say I cheated death, and death is a dog. Death is a dog named Grim. Title drop! Alright, the ending is ridiculous. Why did his parents die in a plane crash that came out of nowhere? What? This is ridiculous. I mean, it's well written. It's a good story. Until, like, the plane crashes, it was pretty good. But hey, what are you gonna do? It was very good, though. I have to give the author props on that. So overall with this story, sorry for the cough. I don't have coronavirus. Trust me. Overall, it was very well written. You can tell it's by, like, a very professional writer, and if they're not a professional writer, then I gotta clap my hands for that. That's really good of you. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it just felt like it was going in a downward slope, and eventually it just hit rock bottom at the end. I mean, it's still good. I'm gonna have to think about what I would rate it, but yeah, very well written. Was very good at adding atmosphere. Just the story kind of got during the late middle and the end. So yeah, overall, I feel like I've been saying, like, the same things over and over and over again, but, like, it's just overall it was very good, very well written, but it just had some problems, like all stories do. But anyway, join my Discord, link in the description, and reach out on Discord or YouTube if you want our channel promoted for free in a future video.